Good afternoon, dear student. Today I am going to discuss. Dear students, good afternoon to all of you. As we know that we are discussing the last unit of our syllabus of public international law, and in furtherance of that, today I am going to discuss asylum. Asylum means refuge and active protection granted by a state to a person seeking such a refuge and protection on the territory under its control. Thus, asylum is granted on the request of the person concerned, and it involves more than merely a temporary refuge and a degree of protection by the authority of the state of refuge. Asylum is closely connected with extradition, and both are interdependent in as much as where the asylum stops, extradition begins. If a fugitive is not surrendered or returned by the sheltering state to the state where he is alleged to have committed the crime, then he may be allowed to remain in the state and would be granted asylum. Once the territorial state, that is state of refuge, decides to extradite him, the question of asylum does not arise at all. Usually, asylum is relevant in the context of political asylum, and if extradited, there is a fear of political persecution in his own country. Since the late 19th century, liberal tendencies have favored the practice of granting asylum to political offenders. The right to grant asylum is an aspect of a state's territorial sovereignty. It has been recognized in Article 1 of the Draft Convention on Territorial Asylum, emerged from the discussions in the United Nations General Assembly in 1974 to 1975, that every state has the right in the exercise of its sovereignty to admit any person into its territory. A state has the power to allow an alien to enter or remain in its territory at its discretion, subject to any duty to extradite the individual to a requesting state with which it has an extradition treaty bearing a political offender. Thus, states have complete freedom to put restriction on their territorial jurisdictional right by concluding treaties and agreeing to extradite persons. But the asylum is generally motivated by human considerations and involves an adjustment between the legal claims of state sovereignty and the demands of humanity. Kinds of asylum. Asylum may be territorial or internal, granted by a state on its territory, or extraterritorial, which is granted at the legations, consular premises, international institutions, headquarters, and warships, public ships. So first is territorial asylum. States have an inherent right as an attribute of their sovereignty to grant asylum in their territory to all kinds of refugees, including the fugitive offenders, but they are not under a legal obligation to grant asylum to a fugitive. Normally, a state refrains from granting asylum to aliens held on a foreign vessel within its territorial waters. But it is very controversial whether a state can grant asylum to prisoners of war detained by it and who are unwilling to be repatriated for the fear of persecution. For example, as happened after the Korean conflict in 1953. The territorial asylum has been classified into political asylum, that is for political defectors, refugee asylum for those who fear persecution in their own country, and third, general asylum, that is for persons who have deserted their country to seek economic betterment but do not enjoy the status of immigrants. Second is extraterritorial asylum. Asylum granted by a state not on its physical territory but on its notional territory, like in legation and consular premises in the physical territory of another state. and on warships is called the extraterritorial asylum. The grant of such an asylum is not inherent, and its extent and scope is not well defined under international law. So first is diplomatic asylum. The granting of asylum in the legation premises is known as diplomatic asylum, but it is an exceptional measure and controversial. The Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Privileges and Immunities 1961 contains no provision on this subject, although in Article 41, reference to special agreements makes room for bilateral recognition of the right to give asylum to political refugees within the mission premises. But para 3 of 41 of the convention provides that the premises of the mission shall not be used in a manner incompatible with the functions of the missions. It is also doubtful if a right of diplomatic asylum for either political or other offenders is recognized by general international law. However, a qualified right of diplomatic asylum is accepted under the Havana Convention on Asylum 1928. In Article 2.1, and a regional custom on this subject seems to exist in Latin America. Generally, a state claiming to have such a right must expressly establish it, but on the other hand, in the absence of any clear rule, a territorial state is not bound to respect such an asylum. It must, by an express consent, agree to do so. In the asylum case, that is Colombia versus Peru, in the year of Colombia versus Peru, it is also known as Haya de la Torre case 1951 ICJ. The court stated in this case that in the case of extradition, that is territorial asylum, the refugee is within the territory of the state of refuge. In the case of diplomatic asylum, the refugee is within the territory of the state where the offense was committed. A decision to grant diplomatic asylum involves a derogation from the sovereignty of that state. It withdraws the offender from the jurisdiction of the territorial state and constitutes an intervention in matters which are exclusively within the competence of that state. Such a derogation from territorial sovereignty cannot be recognized unless its legal basis is established in each particular case. The court also stated that the practice of states in the matter of diplomatic asylum is laden with uncertainty and contradiction. Whereas the power to grant territorial asylum is an incident of territorial sovereignty itself. But the grant of extraterritorial asylum is rather a derogation from the sovereignty of the territorial state, which has to acquiesce in the action of a state granting asylum by not apprehending the fugitives who enjoy its protection. Such an asylum is generally granted to political refugees. Although there exists much uncertainty about the existence of the right of diplomatic asylum, a member of the principles are supported by state practice in this regard. First, there is no general right of diplomatic asylum existing under international law except in the Latin American region. Second, where there is a well-established local custom, the diplomatic asylum is impermissible. And third, under a special treaty between the territorial state and the state of refuge, it is admissible. And fourth, temporary shelter may be provided in the mission premises to individuals whose lives are in immediate danger. If pursued by a violent mob or where the fugitive is in peril because of extreme political corruption in the territorial state, in order to tide over imminent threat temporarily, because of the inviolability of diplomatic premises, Article 29(1) of the Vienna Convention of 1961, the surrendering of the criminal can be taken by the territorial state with the foreign state concerned. And fifth, asylum may be granted in the consular or diplomatic premises as a matter of agreement between the host and the sending states. B. Asylum in the premises of international institutions. There is no general right or practice regarding granting of asylum in the premises of international institutions and of the specialized agencies, even on humanitarian grounds, which is clearly evident from the headquarters agreement of these institutions. Although no case as yet has arisen, but theoretically temporary refuge in extreme cases to shelter from mob frenzy cannot be ruled out. Asylum on warships. The warships and public vessels enjoy immunity under international law, and because of similarity with the rule that diplomatic premises are inviolable. It has been claimed that there exists an analogous right of asylum on board such ships. The diplomatic practice has also, to a great extent, assimilated the position of warships with the status of diplomatic premises in this regard. It is a generally held view that an individual who is not a member of the crew and takes refuge on board a vessel after committing a crime on shore cannot be arrested by the local authorities and removed from the vessel if the commander of the ship refuses to hand him over. On the other hand, some scholars are of the view that such an asylum should be granted only on humanitarian grounds if the life of the individual seeking asylum is threatened. Asylum may also be granted to political offenders on warships. So asylum on merchant ships, however, cannot be granted because merchant vessels do not enjoy immunity and are not exempted from the local jurisdiction. Another aspect of asylum is right of asylum. Under international law, there does not exist any enforceable right of a fugitive criminal to be granted asylum. Although in the constitutions of certain countries, the right of asylum is expressly recognized for persons fleeing from persecution on political grounds. Efforts have been made to create such a right of asylum for individuals in place of discretion which the state enjoy at present. The Universal Declaration on Human Rights prescribes the right to seek and to enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution, which is not to be invoked in the case of prosecutions arising from non-political crimes or from acts contrary to the purposes and principles of the United Nations. In 1962, during a discussion on the draft Covenant on Civil and Political Rights in the Third Committee of the General Assembly, some states unsuccessfully supported the inclusion of a new article on the right of asylum, mainly due to the difficulty in defining a political offense. On December 14, 1967, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a declaration on territorial asylum, which recommended states to observe certain principles stated therein in granting asylum on their territory. The important principles mentioned in the declaration are that the asylum granted by a state to persons seeking refuge from persecution should be respected by all states, but in principle, asylum should not be granted to persons for whom there are well-founded reasons that they have committed crimes against peace, humanity, or war crimes. The principle of non-refoulement, that is, the person should not be rejected at the border, or if he has already entered the territory in which he seeks asylum, should not be expelled or deported. If it is not possible to grant asylum due to national security reasons, the state should consider granting provisional asylum and should help him in going to another state. If a state finds it difficult to grant or continue to grant asylum, states individually, jointly, or through the United Nations should consider taking appropriate measures to lighten the burden of that state. This principle has been put into practice in the case of Rwandan refugees. In August 1995, Zaire ordered the expulsion of all refugees from Rwanda who had fled their country in May-June 1994 due to civil war and had taken refuge in the neighboring country, mainly Tutsi tribe people. But due to the intervention of the United Nations High Commission for Refugees and the promise of increased financial aid to Zaire, it accepted back all the refugees. Nevertheless, the declaration in itself does not create any enforceable right of asylum as merely a declaration. In an attempt to create such a right and binding obligations, a draft convention on territorial asylum was laid down in 1974-75 and United Nations Conference was held for its adoption from January 10, 1977 to February 4, 1977. But no consensus emerged at the conference. The prospects of its adoption in future also appear to be bleak. This confirms the unrestricted right of a state in the matter of granting or withholding asylum under its own domestic laws, policies and practices. So these few points have been about the asylum. I hope this video will be helpful to understand the asylum and their rights. Okay, thank you very much.